Hey everyone, welcome back to the second part of our series on building a stunning portfolio website using next.js, Tailwind CSS, and Framer Motion. In the last video, we set up our development environment and organized our project structure to lay a solid foundation for our website. Today, we're going to take it a step further by creating the hero section, the centerpiece of your website's first impression. But before we jump in, if you're enjoying this series and finding it helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap that bell icon so you never miss an upcoming part. Also, feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions or thoughts. I'd love to hear from you, and actually it is super important for us. The hero section is one of the most crucial parts of your website. It is the first thing visitors see, and it sets the tone for the rest of the site. It usually includes a powerful headline that captures attention, a brief description that tells visitors what you're all about, and a clear call to action, like a button that leads to your portfolio or contact page. In this video, we'll design a hero section that is not only visually stunning, but also highly functional. We will use Tailwind CSS to style our components and ensure this section is fully responsive across all devices. Then we will add interactive animations with Framer Motion to make the hero section dynamic and engaging, giving your website that modern and professional look. By the end of this video, you will have a cool hero section that grabs attention and invites visitors to explore more. Alright, let's get started by building our hero section. The first thing that we need to do is to create a new file where our hero component will live. So head over to the components folder and create here a new file. It's going to be hero.jsx. Then inside this file, I'm going to create new functional component, and for that I'm going to use shortcut RAFCE. So here we have new functional components, hero. I'm going to get rid of this import statement. We don't need it. The next step is to bring the hero component into our main page. So let's switch over to page.js file, and here I'm going to import hero component. So we need here import, then hero, from, and I'm going to insert here @ followed by components, and then we need hero. Now we have to insert here the component hero instead of this hard-coded text. So we need here component hero. Alright, so if we check the page, then we will get here hero instead of home. Now, before we start building our hero component, there is an important step we need to take. We need to add use client at the top of our hero.jsx file as well as in page.js. So I'm going to add here use client, and then I'm going to do the same in page.js file. So let's add here use client. So what exactly is use client and why do we need it? Well, next.js 13 introduced the concept of server and client components. By default, components in next.js are treated as server components, which means they are rendered on the server side to improve performance and SEO. However, some components, like our hero section, require client-side features such as interactivity, state management, and hooks like useState or useEffect. When we add the use client at the top of our component file, we are explicitly telling Next.js that this component should be rendered on the client side. This is crucial for components that need to handle client-side behavior like animations or user interactions, which can't be managed on the server side. Now let's start adding content to our hero section. First, we will add some basic structure by creating a grid layout to center our content. So as you can see, we have here div element with the text hero. I'm going to get rid of this text, and then I'm going to add some classes to the div element. We need class name. Then I'm going to add here age screen, which means that we assign to the div element height equal to 100 viewport height. Next, I'm going to add here grid, And then in order to center the content of the element, I'm going to add here place items center. So now if we get back here, hero, and then check the browser, you will see that the element is placed in the center of the page. All right, so after that, I'm going to insert here new div elements. Then again, we need div elements. And once again, div element. Now we have to insert here an image component, which is a part of next.js. So I'm going to insert here image. And then we have to import image from next/image. So the image component is a powerful built-in feature of next.js that helps you optimize images for performance. It automatically provides image optimization, lazy loading, and responsive design by default, making your website faster and more efficient. Next, I'm going to add some attributes to the image component. So the first attribute is going to be src, and we have to pass here /person.png. So this attribute defines the source of the image. In our case, we are using person.png from the public directory. I mean this image here, this little guy. Next, we need an alt attribute, and I'm sure you already know what alt attribute does. This attribute is used to describe the content of the image. I'm going to insert here person image, and also it is used for SEO because search engines use these tags to understand what the image is about. After that, I'm going to add here width. It's going to be 400, and also we need height. Again, 400. So these attributes define the dimensions of the image in pixels. By specifying the width and height, Next.js can automatically calculate the correct aspect ratio and size of the image, ensuring it displays correctly on different devices. Here we've set both to 400, meaning the image will be 400 pixels wide and 400 pixels tall. Next, we have to add here priority, and it's going to be equal to true. So the priority attribute is a special feature in Next.js that allows you to prioritize certain images to load faster. It is particularly useful for images that are above default, meaning those visible on the initial screen without scrolling. By setting priority to true, we are telling Next.js that this image is important and should be loaded as soon as possible for optimal user experience. Now, let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here our person image. Okay, next I'm going to add here a span element with the text hi. Then after this closing development, I'm going to insert here h1 heading, and it's going to be my name is Nick Brown. Then we need an ampersand. After h1 heading elements, I'm going to insert paragraph with the text I like animations. And also I'm going to add here one of the emojis. For that, we have to press Windows key plus dots. So here we have the emojis, and I'm going to select this one here. Okay, after paragraph, I'm going to open div element. And inside the div element, I'm going to create link. Actually, this link will be for icon, but right now I'm going to insert here just some text like icon. We'll take care of the icons a bit later. After link elements, I mean after this closing div element, let's create another link with the text talk to me. Okay, so I think that's it about the structure, the content of the hero component. Let's go to the browser. So we have here all the elements. Now I'm going to style those elements using Tailwind CSS. So let's go ahead and add some classes to the elements. I'm going to leave these developments empty, without classes. Then add some classes to this development here. So we need flex layout. So I'm going to add here flex. Then I'm going to change the direction of the flex layout. So the direction is going to be column. Therefore, we need here flex col. Then I'm going to center the content using item center. And also we need justify center. Then I'm going to create some gap between the flex items using gap y. And I'm going to select 3. Next, I'm going to set font to light. And also, I'm going to make the text capitalized. Okay, let's check the browser. Let's move on and customize other elements as well. I'm going to add some classes to these developments. I'm in the wrapper of the image. So let's add here class. We need, again, flex layout. So I'm going to add here flex, followed by item center. And also we need justify center. Next, we have to customize the image. So let's add here class name. I'm going to set height to auto. As for the width, I'm going to use here an arbitrary value, and I'm going to set it to 150 pixels. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, the image became smaller. Next, I'm going to customize the span elements. I'm in this greeting text here. So here we have the span. Let's add here class. I'm going to change the position of the span element. It's going to be absolute. Then I'm going to increase the size of the text using text 3XL. In this case, the font size is going to be 30 pixels. Then I'm going to add here fonts semi-bold. And also let's make the text white. Okay, so as you can see, this span element is customized and it looks good. Next, we have to customize the H1 heading element. So let's go ahead and add some classes to the H1 heading element. We need here class name. The first one is going to be text center. Next, I'm going to increase the font size. Let's use again text 3XL. Again, it is equal to 30 pixels. Next, I'm going to make the font bold. Also, let's add here some letter spacing. In case of letter spacing, we have to use class name called tracking wider. Also, I'm going to change the color of the text. It's going to be text gray, 500. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, the heading looks pretty nice. Next, let's customize the paragraph. I'm going to increase the font size. For that, let's use text LG. In case of text LG, we have font size equal to 18 pixels. Then I'm going to add here tracking wider, which is letter spacing equal to 0.05 em. Then we will have here color of the text. It's going to be text gray, 700. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, the paragraph looks good. The next element to customize is icon. Actually, right now we don't have any icons here. So I'm going to omit this element. Let's move on to the button, talk to me. So I'm going to customize a element. Let's add here class name. We need margin top equal to 7. It means that we have margin top equal to 28 pixels. Then I'm going to add here display block. Also, we need width to be max, and it means that width is equal to max content. Next, I'm going to make the button rounded using rounded LG. So in this case, we have border radius equal to 8 pixels. Next, I'm going to change the background of the button. Let's use BG red 400. Also, let's create some padding inside the button. We need padding horizontally. I mean px equal to 3. In this case, we have padding equal to 12 pixels on both sides. I mean the left and right sides. And also, I'm going to add here p y, I mean the vertical padding, and it's going to be equal to 1. In this case, we have padding equal to 4 pixels. Okay, so after that, I'm going to change the font. Let's make it light, then make the font capitalized. Also, we need some letter spacing using tracking wider. Let's check the results. I'm going to place it in the center, and for that we can use MX Auto. So right now it will be centered. Next, I'm going to change the text. So let's change the color of the text. It's going to be white. Also, we need hover. On hover, I'm going to change the background. So we need here PG, red 500. And also we need some smooth effect. I mean smooth hover effect. Therefore, I'm going to add here transition colors. Okay, so here we have the button with nice hover effect. And actually, with the styling, we are done. We have here just one element without any styles. It is icon, which is the text right now. We will replace this text with icons soon. So we successfully created the content of the hero section. And now we have to take care of the icons. Right now we have here a placeholder text that says icon, but we want to replace this with actual icons representing different social media platforms. To achieve this, we will use a library called remix icons. I'm going to search for remix icons. So this is the website where you can find different icons. You can search for any icon. So the remix icons is a set of open source neutral style icons that are commonly used in modern web design. These icons are versatile, well designed, and easy to implement in any project. The website offers a vast collection of icons that you can explore and choose from based on your project needs. You can search for icons by name or browse through categories like social media, business, and more. The best part is that they are built with SVG, making them lightweight and perfect for performance-focused applications. So to add remix icons to our project, we will need to install them. I'm going to open a new terminal and then install remix icons. For that, we need to run the following command: npm install remix icon react. Alright, so this command installed the remix icons package in our project, and it allows us to use these icons as React components. Now that we have installed remix icons, let's move on to the next step. We need to insert the data related to these icons into the index.js file located in our assets folder. This file will act as a centralized place to store all our static data, including the icons we want to use. So here is what we're going to do with the file. I have here prepared index.js with all the data. I'm going to copy the entire data and I'm going to paste it in our index.js file. So here, first, we are importing various icons from the remix icons package that we just installed. For example, we are importing the Instagram, Facebook, Dribble, YouTube, and GitHub icons specifically for the hero section. Each icon is imported as a React component, which means they are ready to be directly used within our JSX. We then create an array called hero icons, which contains these imported icons. This array will hold the icons that we want to display in the hero section as clickable links to our social media profiles. Using an array makes it easier to manage and dynamically render these icons in the future if needed. Next, let's discuss the other data we have in the index.js file, but we'll keep our focus primarily on the data relevant to the hero section. Apart from the hero icons array, the file contains multiple other exports related to different sections of our portfolio website, such as the About Me, skills data, project information, experience data, and more. However, the most crucial part for the hero section is the hero icons array that we just defined. we will go through and use other data as we proceed building other sections of the project. So after setting up the icons in the index.js file, the next step is to import this array into our hero component. To do this, I'm going to open hero.jsx file and include the following import statement at the top. So we need here import hero icons from @/assets. So this import statement brings the hero icons array into the hero.jsx file, allowing us to use it within the hero component. Now let's modify the code in the hero component to replace the hard-coded icon text with our actual social media icons. Inside the return statement, locate the section where we currently have the placeholder text icon. We will replace it with a map function that iterates over the hero icons array and renders each icon as a clickable link. So I'm going to open here curly braces and then insert hero icons, followed by the map function. Then we need a callback function with two parameters, icon and I. So the map function is a common method in JavaScript that allows us to loop over an array and perform a specific action for each item. In this case, we are looping through the hero icons array, which contains all of our imported social media icons. So I'm going to place this link element inside the parentheses. Then I'm going to add here key attribute with the value I. So here for each icon we create an anchor tag, the link tag, that acts as a clickable link. The key attribute is assigned the index I of each icon, which helps React efficiently manage and render the list. Now, instead of this hard-coded text, I'm going to insert here icon. And now all the icons should be rendered on the page. Let's close this tab. So here we go. We have here 5 different icons. And as you can see, we have to style them. So I'm going to add classes to the wrapper div element. Let's create margin at the top side. It's going to be equal to 8. So in this case, margin top is equal to 32 pixels. Then we need flexbox, followed by justify content center. Then I'm going to create some gap horizontally using gap x with the value 10. So in this case, we have column gap equal to 40 pixels. Then we need to change the size of the text using text 3XL. And also let's change the color of the icons. I'm going to use yellow 600. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, the icons look nice. Now I'm going to customize the link elements themselves. So I'm going to add here a class name. I'm going to create a hover effect. So we need here hover. On hover, I'm going to change the background. So we need background to red 400. Then I'm going to change text on hover, the color. So on hover, we need text white. And also for smoother effect, let's use transition colors. Let's check the icons. So as you can see, once we hover over the icons, the background and the color of the icons are changing. I'm going to add here border radius in order to make those boxes rounded. Actually, let's add here rounded LG. So in this case, we will have border radius equal to 8 pixels. Now let's go to the browser and check the result. So now, as you can see, we have nice and cool hover effect. All right, so that's it about the icons. Now we have to move on to our next part of the video, in which we're going to add some really cool mouse moving animations to our hero section using Framer motion. If you have followed along so far, you know that animations can really bring a website to life and make it feel more dynamic. and engaging for users. Now we're going to create an effect that reacts to the mouse's movement, adding a bit of fun and interactivity to our hero section. First of all, I'm going to create two variables, x and y, using the useMotionValue hook from the framer motion. Now you might wonder, why are we doing this? The reason is that x and y are going to represent the horizontal and vertical coordinates of our mouse as it moves across the screen. By using the useMotionValue hook, we turn these coordinates into special values that are optimized specifically for animations. So whenever our mouse moves, the x and y values will update dynamically and very smoothly. So as I said, we're going to create two variables. The first one is going to be x, and it should be equal to useMotionValue. As you see, this hook is automatically imported from Framer Motion. If you don't see here useMotionValue hook, then you have to import it manually because otherwise you will get an error. Then I'm going to make the default value of x variable 0, and we need the same thing for variable y. It should be equal to 0 as well. Alright, so you may wonder, why do we use useMotionValue instead of regular state management in React? Well, useMotionValue is different from the typical React state because it provides a more efficient way to handle frequent updates, like the kind you need for real-time animations. Instead of triggering a full re-render of the component whenever the mouse moves, useMotionValue allows Framer Motion to directly update the values on the DOM element. This makes our animation super smooth and responsive without the lag that can sometimes happen with frequent React state updates. By setting the initial values of x and y to 0, we establish a starting point for our mouse movement. As the user moves their mouse across the screen, we will dynamically update these values, and Framer Motion will handle the rest, smoothly animating our elements in response to the changes. The next thing that we have to do is to create a new function, handleMouseMove. The purpose of the handleMouseMove function is to track the position of the user's mouse as it moves across the screen. We need this function because for our animation to respond to the mouse movements, we have to know exactly where the mouse is at any given moment. This is where handleMouseMove comes in. So, as I said, we have to create a new function, and it's going to be handleMouseMove. We need here an event object, then an arrow function. So this function takes an event parameter e, which represents the mouse event that occurs whenever the user moves their mouse. When this event is triggered, it should provide information about the mouse's position on the screen, specifically the client X and client Y values. Next, we have to destructure the client X and client Y properties from the event object. So I'm going to use here destructuring. Then we need here client X, also client Y from event. So the client X and client Y values represent the current position of the mouse cursor relative to the viewport. Client X is the horizontal coordinate, distance from the left edge of the browser window, and client Y is the vertical coordinate, distance from the top edge. By using destructuring, we make our code cleaner and more readable, directly accessing the X and Y values of the mouse pointer from the event. Now we have to update the X and Y variables using set method. So here I'm going to add x.set with client X. So here we use the set method from the useMotionValue hook to update the xMotion value with the current horizontal mouse position. This means that whenever the mouse moves, the X value is dynamically updated to reflect the new horizontal position of the cursor. Using the set method with useMotionValue instead of useState provides a significant advantage in our example. The key benefit is performance. The set method updates the motion values directly without causing a re-render of the component. This is crucial for smooth, high-performance animations, especially when tracking rapid mouse movements or other frequent changes. With useState, each update would trigger a re-render, potentially leading to junky or laggy animations. By using set, we achieve fluid, responsive animations that feel natural and engaging for the user without sacrificing performance. In the same way, I'm going to update the y variable. So let's duplicate this line of code and change x into y. We need here client y. All right, so now I'm going to run to the console those values in order to see better what I'm talking about. So I'm going to insert here client x, client y, and also I'm going to add here x and y. Then in order to execute this function, we have to add onMouseMove event handler to the main development of the hero component. So I'm going to add here onMouseMove, and we have to call handle mouseMove function. Let's go to the browser. I'm going to inspect the page and switch to the console tab. Let's refresh the page. So as you can see, we're getting here client X, client Y, and X and Y values. So these are client X and client Y values. Actually, I'm going to zoom in. And also we have here two motion values. I mean X and Y. If we drop down it, we'll get here current property, which includes the value 81, the same that we have here. And if we drop down the second motion value, we will get here current with the same value here. I mean the value of client Y property. All right. So that's the way how client X, client Y, and also our special values, I mean motion values, work. Let's go back to the VS Code. So by using the handle mouse move function, we ensure that our animation is always aware of the mouse's exact location. This function captures the mouse's position in real time and updates the X and Y motion values accordingly. These values are then used to create interactive animations that respond directly to users' mouse movements. The next thing that I'm going to do is to set up some state variables to manage the animations. So I'm going to create state variable, and it's going to be a window offset. Then we need an updater function, set window offset. It should be equal to useStateHook. As you can see, the useStateHook is imported automatically from React. Again, if you don't see here useState, then you have to import it manually from React. Otherwise, you will get an error. Now, I'm going to insert here an object with two properties. The first one is going to be inner width equal to 0, and then we need inner height equal to 0 as well. So we create here a state variable named window offset and its corresponding state updater function set window offset. The window offset state is initialized with an object containing two properties, inner width and inner height, both set to 0. The window offset state variable is used to store the current dimensions of the browser window, specifically the inner width and inner height. These values represent the width and height of the viewport in pixels, excluding any scroll bars. So we need the state variable for the following reasons. The first one is tracking window size. The dimensions of the browser window are required to calculate the appropriate values for certain animations. For example, in a mouse movement animation, you might want to map the mouse's position within the window to a rotation or transformation effect. Knowing the size of the window allows you to correctly compute these mappings. The second reason is dynamic updates. By using a state variable, the component can dynamically respond to changes in the window size. If the window is resized, the state can be updated accordingly, allowing the animations or transformations to adapt to the new window dimensions. Next, I'm going to create another state variable, and it's going to be mouse move. And again, we need an updater function, set mouse move. Then we need useState hook, and we have to insert here by default Boolean value false. So the mouse move state variable is used to track whether the mouse is currently moving or has recently moved over a specific area of the page, like a component or an element. This state is crucial for controlling animations or effects that should only occur when the mouse is actively moving over a particular area. Many animations or interactive effects need to be triggered only when the user is interacting with a component by moving their mouse over it. By tracking mouse movement with this state, we can decide when to start or stop animations or transitions. We initialize the mouse move state variable to false because when the component first loads, there is not any mouse movement over the area of interest, so it's logical to initialize mouse move to false. This indicates that no mouse movement is currently detected. The next thing that we have to do is to create a function called handle mouse enter. This function is important for initializing certain values when the mouse first enters the hero section of our page. It helps set up the animations by capturing the window's size and activating the mouse move tracking. So as I said, we have to create here new function, and it's going to be handle mouse enter. We need here an arrow function. So when the mouse enters the hero section, we want to capture the current size of the window. This is because our animations are designed to respond dynamically based on the mouse's position relative to the dimensions of the window. To achieve that, we need to know the window's width and height at the moment when the mouse first enters the area. Additionally, we want to trigger the animation effects only when the mouse is actively moving over the section. So this function will handle both tasks. I'm going to update window offset state variable using set window offset function. And we have to insert here an object with two properties, inner width, which is going to be equal to window dot inner width, and then we need inner height equal to window dot inner height. So here we use set window offset to set an object with two properties, inner width and inner height. These properties are assigned the current width and height of the window using window.innerWidth and window.innerHeight. This is crucial because it provides the dimensions of the window that will be used for calculating the animations. When the user moves their mouse, we will refer to these values to determine how far they are from the edges and adjust the animations accordingly. Next, we have to update the mouse move state variable and make it true. In order to do that, I'm going to use set mouse move function, and we have to make it true. So this line of code is setting the mouse move state to true, which is a flag indicating that the mouse has entered the hero section and we are ready to track its movements. Without setting this flag, the animations wouldn't know when to activate or stop, and we might end up with animations playing at inappropriate times. Now I'm going to execute this function once the mouse enters the hero section. For that, we have to attach onMouseEnterEvent handler to the development in the JSX. So I'm going to add here onMouseEnter, and we have to call handle mouse enter function. Then, in order to check how inner width and inner height properties work, let's run them to the console. I'm going to add here console.log, and let's insert here inner width and inner height. I'm going to post this console.log because we'll get many values in the console. Let's go to the browser and refresh the page. Now I'm going to expand the tab. So here we have the inner width and inner height of the window. As you can see, once we enter the hero section, we're getting here inner width and inner height of the windows. The first value is inner width. As for the second value, it's inner height. If we decrease the height, then we will get here different value as the inner height. Alright, so that's the way how inner width and inner height are calculated and work. After that, I'm going to create dynamic transformations based on the mouse position. In order to do that, I'm going to use useTransform hook from Framer Motion. First, we have to extract inner width and inner height from the window offset state using destructuring. We need these values because they represent the current width and height of the browser window, which we will use to calculate the rotation angles of our hero component based on the mouse's X and Y positions. So, as I said, we need to destructure inner width and inner height. We need here inner width, inner height, and we have to destructure them from window offset state variable. Next, we have to define a variable using useTransform. I'm going to call this variable rotate y. It's going to be equal to useTransform. And again, we need useTransform imported from Framer Motion. If you don't see here useTransform, then import it manually. So inside here, I'm going to insert some values and then I will explain everything. So we need here X, then we need 0 followed by inner width. After that, we need square brackets minus 30 and then 30. So the useTransform hook takes in the motion value X and maps its range from 0 to inner width to an output range of minus 30 to 30. This means that as the mouse moves from the left side to the right side of the window, the rotation on the y-axis will smoothly change from minus 30 degrees to 30 degrees. This creates a tilting effect that responds to the horizontal mouse movement. Similarly, we define rotate X. I'm going to duplicate this line of code. We need rotate X. Then I'm going to insert here Y. Then we need 0 inner height instead of inner width. As for the range, it's going to be 10 and minus 50. This time, we take the motion value y and map its range from 0 to inner height to an output range of 10 to minus 50. This allows us to control the rotation on the x-axis as the mouse moves vertically across the window. As the mouse moves from the top to the bottom, the rotation on the x-axis will smoothly transition from 10 degrees to minus 50 degrees, adding another layer of interactivity to our animation. Now we need to enhance our component with animations, and for that we will use motion.div from Framer Motion. The motion div is an animated version of the standard div element, which allows us to add animations and transitions directly to our HTML elements using Framer Motion's powerful API. By using motion div, we can easily control how elements enter, leave, and behave on the page, making our user interface more interactive and visually appealing. So first we need to import it from Framer Motion. I'm going to add here motion. Then we have to update our JSX. So I'm going to add to this development motion. Next we need to add the style attribute to the motion div. This attribute allows us to dynamically apply styles to our component. In our case, we're using it to control the rotation of the hero component in response to the mouse movement. So I'm going to add here style. Here we have to set rotate X and rotate Y styles based on the current state of the mouse move variable. The mouse move state indicates whether the mouse has entered the component, which is essential for triggering the rotation effects. We have to use a ternary operator to determine whether the rotations should be applied. So I'm going to insert here rotate X. Then we need mouse move. state variable, then it should be followed by a ternary operator. So if the condition is true, then we will have, if the condition is true, we will have here rotate X, and if it is false, then we have 0. Next, we need the same thing for rotate Y. I'm going to insert here mouse move. Then we need ternary operator, rotate Y, and then 0. And finally, I'm going to add here transition. Point 1 second. All right, so actually I think that we have here some issue. Could not find name rotate X. Did you mean rotate? Well, we might have typo. Yes, we are missing here E for both variables. Now we no longer have here the warnings. So if mouse move is true, which means the mouse is currently moving within the component area, the values of rotate X and rotate Y are applied. These values are dynamically calculated using the useTransform hook based on the mouse's position within the window. However, if mouse move is false, meaning the mouse is not currently moving within the component, both rotate X and rotate Y are set to 0, ensuring that no rotation is applied. By using these ternary operators, we make the behavior of the rotations conditional, providing a smooth and controlled animation experience. The transition property is also added with a duration of 0.1 second to ensure that any changes to the rotation happen smoothly. This setup ensures that as the mouse enters and moves across the component will react with a subtle, engaging, tilting animation, adding a dynamic layer to our user interface. So finally, we can test this animation. So as you can see, once we move the mouse, then we have here this nice and cool animation. Okay, so now we are going to take our animations to the next level by adding spring animations to our project. Spring animations are a powerful feature in Framer Motion that mimic the natural bouncy movement you might see in real-world physics. To implement this, we start by using the useSpring hook from the Framer Motion. So we need to import useSpring from Framer Motion. This hook allows us to create values that behave like a spring, providing a natural transition effect whenever the value changes. Next, we have to create two variables, xSpring and ySpring. So let's create variable xSpring. It should be equal to useSpring hook. Then I'm going to insert here x, followed by an object with two properties. The first one is stiffness. I'm going to set it to 100, and also we will have here damping. It's going to be equal to 10. Let's duplicate this line of code. We need ySpring. Then we need here y. As for the stiffness and damping, the values, they will be the same. Okay, let's break. Actually, we don't need here capital Y. We need just Y. Okay, let's go ahead and break down what each piece of this code does. The useSpring function takes two parameters. The first is the motion value we want to animate, and the second one is an object that defines the configuration for our spring animation. In this case, we are passing x and y as the motion values to useSpring. This represents the mouse's x and y positions, which we have already set up using useMotionValue. By wrapping them in useSpring, we are telling Framer Motion that instead of directly jumping to the new values of x and y whenever they change, we want the changes to animate with a spring-like motion. Now let's talk about the configuration object. This object here with two properties, stiffness and damping. The stiffness property determines how stiff the spring is. A higher value for stiffness means the spring is tighter, causing the animation to move faster towards its target, In our case, setting stiffness to 100 creates a moderately stiff spring, providing a responsive and snappy animation without being too quick and sharp. The damping property controls how much friction is applied to the spring's motion. It affects how the spring slows down and eventually comes to rest. A lower damping value would make the spring move back and forth longer before stopping, while a higher value would make it come to rest more quickly. By setting the damping to 10, we strike a balance where the animation is smooth and fluid but not too bouncy. Now we have to update the x and y values in the useTransform hook. So here, instead of x, we need x spring, and then we need y spring. Actually, we don't need here capital Y. We have here a typo. We need y lowercase and then lowercase y here as well. Okay, so now we can test how the spring animation works. As you can see, now we have this nice and cool bouncing effect. Once we stop moving the cursor, we have slight bounce of the element. Now, if we change the values of stiffness and damping, you will see clearly how they work. Let's set stiffness to 500. Now, as you can see, we have here this fast movement. If we make damping, let's say 100, then the movement will be slower. Okay, so hopefully you understand how those two properties work. Let's get back here 100 and then 10. Alright, so that's it. To recap our mouse animations, we've created a dynamic effect that responds to the movement of the mouse, making the elements on our screen appear to shift and rotate smoothly, adding a sense of depth and interactivity to the page. This animation gives our hero section a more engaging and lively feel, enhancing the user experience. Now we need to move on to the next animation. We'll focus on creating a hover effect where the greeting text appears smoothly when the button is hovered over, adding another layer of interactivity to our design. Now we need to create a new state variable that will help us manage the hover effect for our button. We'll define this state variable as button hover and initialize it with a default value of false using the useState hook. So, as I said, we need to create new state variable. It's going to be button hover. Then we need an updater function set button hover equal to useState. And as I said, we have to set button hover state variable to false. So by setting button hover to false initially, we are indicating that the button is not being hovered over at the start. This state will be crucial for controlling the appearance of our greeting text animation when a user interacts with the button. Next, we will transform our regular span element into a motion span element from Framer Motion. This change will allow us to add animations to our greeting text that appear when we hover over the button. So as I said, we have here span element, and we have to transform it into motion span. This enables us to use the initial, animate, and transition props to define how the element should behave when certain conditions are met. So we need here initial prop, which should be equal to scale 0. This means that when the component is first rendered, the scale of the span element will be set to 0, effectively making it invisible or minimized in size. Next, we have to define the animate prop. So we need here animate, and it should be equal to an object. The first property is going to be opacity. It should be equal to conditional statement. We need button hover, followed by the ternary operator. If button hover is true, then we need 0. If it is false, then we need 1. Next, we need scale with again, conditional statement, we need button hover, followed by the ternary operator, and then we need 2, 0, and finally, I'm going to add here y property with again conditional statement, button hover, followed by the ternary operator, and the values will be -40 and 0. All right, so here we use a ternary operator to dynamically change the animation properties based on the value of button hover. If button hover is true, which means the button is being hovered over, the opacity is set to 0, making the text invisible. The scale is set to 2, making the text twice as large, and y is set to -40, moving the text upwards. When button hover is false, the text returns to its default state with full opacity, a normal scale, and its original position. Then we have to specify the transition prop to control how the animation should progress. So I'm going to add here another property. It's going to be transition. We need here opacity equal to delay, and the value will be 0.4. So this line adds a delay of 0.4 seconds to the opacity change. This means that when the button is hovered, the change in opacity will occur after a slight delay, creating a smoother and more natural animation effect. Finally, we have to add the on-mouse enter and on-mouse leave event handler to the button element. So let's find here button, which is the link element. I'm going to add here on mouse enter, and we have to pass here a callback function where we have to update button hover state variable. So we need to set button hover, we have to make it true, and once mouse leaves the elements, then we need to make the button hover state variable equal to false. So we need here false. Okay, so again, these handlers will trigger the hover state changes. When the mouse enters the button, set button hover is called, setting the button hover state to true and starting the hover animation. When the mouse leaves the button, then set button hover is called, resetting the state back to false and reversing the animation. Let's go to the browser and test the animation. So here we go. So once we hover over the button, the greeting text will appear with nice and cool animation. Alright, so let's take a moment to recap what we have done so far. We have successfully created and customized our hero section, adding engaging animations and interactive effects that make our portfolio website more dynamic and appealing. Now we need to ensure that our hero section is fully responsive across all devices, adapting gracefully to different screen sizes. To achieve this, we will use Tailwind CSS, which typically follows a mobile-first approach by default. However, I want to change this to a desktop-first approach, which will make more sense for the design we are aiming to create. And actually, I always work with a desktop-first approach. To switch a desktop-first approach, we will modify the configuration file of Tailwind CSS. We are going to redefine our breakpoints. Here is how we will set it up. I'm going to add screens section here. In the screen section of our Tailwind configuration file, we will define our breakpoints using the max width strategy. This means that the styles will be applied up to a maximum screen width rather than starting from a minimum width, which is the default behavior. So let's go ahead and define the breakpoints. We need here XL, then max, and it's going to be 1400 pixels. This ensures that any styles defined under the XL breakpoint will be applied to screens with a width of 14 pixels or less. Similarly, we need LG. We need here max and the value is going to be 1150 pixels. So this applies styles to screens up to 1150 pixels wide. Next we have empty. Max width is going to be 767 pixels. Actually, we need here curly braces. And finally, I'm going to add here SM with the max width of 639 pixels. So this applies styles to screens up to 639 pixels. By using this approach, we are essentially telling Tailwind CSS to prioritize styles for larger screens and adjust downwards as the screen size decreases. This method allows us to focus on optimizing the desktop design first and then make adjustments for smaller devices, ensuring that our design looks great on every screen size. Now let's change the styles of the elements. We have to find h1 heading elements, and I'm going to add here class SM text to XL. So for smaller screen sizes, the size of the text will be smaller. Then I'm going to find icons and the wrapper developments. I'm going to add here SM text to XL. Okay, let's go ahead and test the results. I'm going to switch to responsive mode. So here I have different screen sizes, which are mostly used nowadays. I'm going to test the project on various desktop screens. As you can see, it looks good. Next we have tablets. It looks pretty nice. And finally we have here mobile screen sizes. So as you can see, the hero section looks great on every screen size and device. Okay, so we have reached the end of this exciting part of our YouTube series. We have successfully brought our hero section to life with dynamic animations and a clean, responsive design, setting a great foundation for our portfolio website. It's been a fantastic journey so far, and we have tackled some of the key elements that make our website both visually appealing and functional. But this is just the beginning. In the next part of the series, we'll dive even deeper as we continue building the next section of our project. We will explore more creative techniques, add new features, and further enhance the interactivity of our website. If you enjoyed following along and found this content valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future uploads. Click the bell icon to get notified as soon as the next part drops. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.